This is a teaching moment.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's Hesiod once again. If you have happened to stumble upon this video by chance, you won't see any gameplay. The gameplay is in another video that I'm pointing towards in the info box up there, or you can find it in the description down below. If you just want to check out the action, that's fine. Go there and check out the gameplay. In this video, I'm going to talk about nothing but the deck and what you can do with it. I'm going to talk about the cards, I'm going to talk about the synergies, and I'm going to talk about the mulligan. I'm going to talk about the weaknesses and the strength of this deck. So, what is this deck? It is a secret mage, which means we do revolve around secrets a lot. We do run 9 secrets in this deck. But it's not just actually a secret deck that just relies on secrets. We do have a lot of other stuff to control the board and gain tempo on board so that we can trade favorably and go face with stuff that is left and finish off the opponent with stuff like Fireball or Ruined Orb in the long run. Maybe the most important card in this deck, at least in the early game, is Arcanologist. Arcanologist is a really nice card. You can play it on turn 2, it cycles itself, and it will give you something to do on turn 3. Another nice card that interacts very well with Mage secrets in particular is Inconspicuous Rider. This guy is just a 2/2. It's not a very good tempo play. But if you pull out a Oasis Ally with this, or a Netherwind Portal, that is really strong. You will have something on board to fight with. Of course, we also include a Game Master. Game Master has very strong synergy with Oasis Ally. Sometimes you will just drop it on turn 2 and hope it survives. And if it doesn't, that's okay sometimes. Sometimes you will be sad. But on turn 3 you can go Game Master into Oasis Ally, meaning that your opponent is most likely going to trade into your Game Master and triggering the Oasis Ally. Having a water elemental on board after the turn after is just really nice. Also, it of course has synergy with Netherwind Portal. If your opponent happens to play a spell, you will still have something on board. Not so much an early game card. More of a late game card that can grant you insane value is Apexis Smuggler. Apexis Smuggler has very nice synergy with all the secrets we are running. Not only will it grant you additional cards when playing secrets with it, it can give you another secret on top of that, meaning you can chain things if you are lucky enough. But even if you don't hit secrets, there are really nice mage spells and you get to discover among 3 cards which one is best for your situation. Another really nice discover card is Warn Thief. After having played something cheap, you can play her on top. She delivers a 1/2 body which can't be just pinged off, and she will deliver you additional value. You will get to choose between 3 cards, which is very valuable. A little slow, but insane amounts of value, and having me a lot of games with her prime is Astromancer Solarian. She also has a little bit of synergy with Brain Freeze, which profits off of the spell damage, and a Ruined Orb, which does pretty much the same thing. Also, she's just a body on board on turn 2, so you can fight with her if you are lucky enough and if she doesn't get taken care of. A really nice minion in the current metagame is Firebrand. You will face a lot of hunters and paladins, and this guy is an insane comeback mechanism. We are very sad that we can't run Flame Ward anymore. This guy is kind of a pseudo Flame Ward, and he is the foremost reason why we even run Brain Freeze. Firebrand and Brain Freeze on turn 4 will clear the opponent's side of the board a lot of times. It's very good. A really nice secret synergy card is Occult Conjurer. You will not always play her on turn 4 because she won't be active, and a 4 mana 4/4 isn't great. Sometimes you will be in a pinch and you will play her as a 4/4, and that's sometimes okay enough already. But if she's active on turn 4, you can just jam her and have a 4 mana 8/8, and that's really insane. Sometimes you might even just think about playing nothing and Oasis Ally. so you don't have anything on board, this secret won't be triggered, and you can drop the Occult Conjurer on turn 4, having an 8/8 that spawns a 3/6 when attacked. That sounds pretty nice to me. A little weird might be animated Broomstick. We just run a one-off of this card. It is kind of a tech card because a lot of paladins are going around, and this card has an insane synergy with Occult Conjurer, for example. You have an 8/8 and you can rush with animated Broomstick on turn 5 sometimes, which is very, very good. Also, you can just run in stuff like Apexis Smuggler or Arcanologist, Astromancer Solarian, Game Master, Firebrand, all of the minions into the opposing side of the board, having favorable traits, and on top of that can ping with the animated Broomstick on top. If you run into a lot of control decks, this is not so great. Maybe you want to include a devolving missiles instead. Last but not least of the minions is Sayge, Seer of Darkmoon. He is very slow. A 6 mana 5/5 is not very good. But sometimes the burst draw you get with him, you won't draw 1 card with this, you won't draw 2 cards with this. Most of the time he draws at least 3 cards, and then he is worth it. Believe me, he is just worth it. But sometimes he is also pretty clunky. We do have a lot of stuff that discovers, like Ruined Orb or Apexis Smuggler and Warm Thief. So a lot of times our hand is going to be full. Also we run Rigged Fair Game, I almost forgot about that. Our hand is going to be full a lot of times, and Sayge is going to be very clunky. Be smart about playing him. If you don't have him, you might actually consider including just the devolving missiles instead, because the current metagame is a lot of paladin, and devolving missiles is very good against paladin. We do have a lot of draw and a lot of card generation, so if you want to drop this, that is okay. I already hinted at the spells we run, excluding the secrets. Brain Freeze is just a very nice card to control the board. You deal 3 damage for 1 most of the time, and sometimes you just want to freeze stuff with it, and it goes so well with Firebrand. I can't stress that out enough. It goes so well with Firebrand. This is just a very nice inclusion in the current metagame. Ruined Orb from the new set is very good in this deck. Yes, deal 2 damage for 2 mana isn't great, but you get to discover a spell, and on top of that, this can go face. We are a board-oriented deck, but we want to generate a board and then go face with it, if possible. And this can deliver additional burn afterwards and can be just burn to finish off the opponent. And since we are a mage, of course we run Fireball, a very nice finisher. 4 mana deal 6 is really great. Include this card no matter what. Let's talk a little bit about the secrets. Counterspell is an okay to good spell. Counterspell is a little bit sketchy and therefore just a one-off in this deck. Sometimes it comes in clutch though. If you play against the Warlock, you can protect your board with this against, for example, Twisting Nether. Be smart to play it though. Getting countered with a 1 mana spell, a 2 mana spell isn't great, but sometimes it just saves you because a hunter wants to go piercing shot or quick shot on you, and this will prevent it. If you run against a lot of hunter, you might actually consider adding an ice barrier instead. Ice barrier is helping against hunter a lot. It's not that great against control or against paladin though, because it will deliver you 8 health, but counterspell is just better in those scenarios, I think. Against hunter it's very good though. We are in a new rotation, and Netherwind was before the rotation actually pretty good, because on average you would get a 3/5. Now I actually hit a lot of 3/3s, and sometimes you will just get Kiri, which is a 2/2, and that feels really bad. But sometimes you will hit Senjin, which has Taunt and will protect you, also protect your board. Or you will hit an Amalgam, which will also protect your board and is a 4/5. So this is a little bit of casino. But since we are a board-oriented deck, for the most part in the beginning of the game, Netherwind is just an inclusion because it puts stuff on board. The very best secret in this deck is for sure Oasis Ally. A 3 mana water elemental is really insane. The water elemental freezes stuff. This wins you games against Demon Hunter on its own because Demon Hunter relies so much on the hero power, and if they can't attack, they just lose the game. A lot of times, a Demon Hunter is so scared of the Water Elemental that they will play a Bladed Lady to get rid of it. But then the Bladed Lady will be frozen. The opponent is not going to be able to take advantage of her anymore, and will take a lot of measures to get rid of the Water Elemental. Also, there are quite some weapons out there at the moment. Paladin has some, Hunter has some. I never trade with the Water Elemental from Oasis Ally against the Hunter. I just go face, denying their weapons, and denying Rinling's rifle is very nice with this. We don't run Arcane Intellect or Springwater. Don't include Springwater in this deck. We run 17 minions. Springwater won't be very good in this deck. It might come in handy if you want to include it, you can do so. But Rigged Faire game. It's a very interesting secret because sometimes it just won't trigger and you will sit on the Rigged Faire game, but then it activates Occult Conjurer, which is very nice. And sometimes it will activate and then you will draw 3 cards off of this. And we do run a lot of cheap stuff that will be very synergetic with what we draw, and Rigged Faire game helps with that. This card is for sure a 2-off in this deck. So I've talked a lot about the strong side of this deck, and the question is this a strong deck? And I can tell you I have made the experience that it is. I don't think that we are favored against Hunter or against Paladin, but we are kind of even. We do have a fighting chance against those decks. So the weakness is Paladin and Hunter, but you can come back. The big strong side of this deck is that we can come back with Firebrand and Brain Freeze. That is really insane. On turn 4 we will develop a 3/4 and remove the opposing side of the board. And Hunter and Paladin rely on their own board to fight for the game. And that is what we are trying to do. We try to come back. We will lose tempo. Mage doesn't have good 1-drops at the moment. It's just pretty much Warn Thief. Babbling Book could be an inclusion too. You could think about that, but it's just a 1/1 and it dies immediately to pretty much everything. Since we don't have that many 1-drops, we are relying mostly on Arcanologist to be put on board on turn 2. Sometimes it's just a Game Master or whatever, and take it off from there. And on turn 3 we do broken stuff like Inconspicuous Rider, which pulls a secret from the deck, and we go from there, building up tempo and overwhelming the opponent in the long run. So the weakness is foremost that we don't always draw what we need. Since we run 9 secrets, we will have a lot of times a hand of secrets, and that's very bad. So you have to be smart about the mulligan and toss pretty much all the secrets. Oasis Ally is pretty much a keep oftentimes though. The other secrets are to be tossed because we want to cheat them out with Inconspicuous Rider, and if we draw into them with Game Master. So having a lot of secrets has its downsides, but it also has its upsides. These 2 secrets here are very nice tempo secrets, and they can gain you a lot of tempo if your opponent isn't careful, and most of the time they won't be. Sometimes they will just attack into a minion you have on board and give you a Water Elemental, and that's pretty nice. And if they play a spell, sometimes we will get lucky and get a really big minion off of the Netherwind Portal, like Darkspear Berserker for example. Darkspear Berserker is a really nice hit off of Netherwind Portal. And that's the big strong side about this deck. Even if we lose board until turn 3, we can come back, build up tempo like crazy, and overwhelm the opponent, killing him in the long run. Another strong side of this deck is that it's a lot of fun. We do run Warn Thief, we do run Apexis Smuggler, we do run Ruined Orb, and all of these cards grant us additional value. We can decide what to choose for the situation given, and we can react accordingly. Yes, sometimes we won't discover what we need, but oftentimes we will, and then we will take it from there and overwhelm the opponent. Overwhelming the opponent includes fireballing them in the face and winning the game. So how do you mulligan with this deck? That's not an easy question to answer. An easy answer though to this question in almost all cases is Arcanologist. You're looking for Arcanologist to draw cards and have something on board to fight with. Arcanologist has 3 health, which means it can be taken care of that easily on turn 2. Even later stages of the game, this draws you a card most of the time. It's just a very good minion in this deck. You run this. Try to mulligan for Arcanologist. Against aggressive decks like Face Hunter and Paladin in particular, you are looking for Firebrand and Brain Freeze. Sometimes you won't get that combination, but sometimes you will have the coin, and sometimes you will waste the coin just to get the effect off of Firebrand so you can clear the opposing side of the board. Firebrand is a really nice minion against aggressive decks, keep that in mind. You will keep this against Paladin and against Face Hunter. Since Oasis Ally is so strong, you might actually think about keeping this against certain matchups. It's pretty nice against Paladin, it's very good against Hunter, and it's insane against Demon Hunter because Demon Hunter relies so much on their hero power to control the board, and this denies that. And it's really insane. I can tell you, I haven't lost a single game against Demon Hunter just because of this secret. Ruined Orb is sometimes a sketchy keep, but against Face Hunter this is a really nice card to deal with, for example Initiate or a Demon Companion at the beginning of the game. It cycles itself, it doesn't generate that much tempo, but it removes tempo on the opposing side and is just a good enough keep a lot of times. Astromancer against aggressive decks isn't that great because she has only 2 health. We won't be able to attack with her, which makes her a really bad keep. But sometimes, if you are not on coin and have 3 cards and she is a 2-drop, you might consider keeping it, but it's kind of sketchy. Don't keep animated Broomstick. We want to burst draw into this and then swing the board with it. Against controlling decks, you want to also keep just Arcanologist because it's always good. Against controlling decks, Rigged Fair Game is very good. Controlling decks are stuff like Warlock, Control Warlock or Priest. Against Priest, Rigged Fair Game is super insane. You will draw 3 cards off of this a lot of times on turn 4. And that is so much card draw that will give you so much fuel that you will almost win the game just off of this card. Inconspicuous Rider is very nice cheat against control decks. Also it's very slow against aggressive decks, but sometimes you will just keep it to have something on board. Against control decks, Inconspicuous Rider is really nice. If this guy is on board and pulled Oasis Ally and your opponent decides to trade into this, you will get a 3/6. That's very nice. Once again, against aggressive decks, you want Arcanologist, you want maybe Ruined Orb, you want Firebrand, and you want Brain Freeze. Against controlling decks, you might consider keeping Astromancer Solarian. Arcanologist is an absolutely no-brainer. Game Master if you have a secret like Oasis Ally or Rigged Fair Game or Netherwind Portal in hand, because this is a nice turn 3 play against a control deck. It will spawn you a lot of times a Water Elemental or something else, or you will draw cards, which is also pretty nice. Inconspicuous Rider against control decks is very good. And against control decks, also Occult Conjurer might be a keep if you can manipulate the battlefield so that maybe you don't even play anything until turn 3. And on turn 3 you play an Oasis Ally, don't have a board. You can play the Occult Conjurer. It will trigger the Oasis Ally most likely, and also you will get a 4-mana 8/8, and that's really good. Sayge might sometimes be a keep against controlling decks, because they are so slow. Priest in particular is super slow. Sayge is a consideration, but if your hand doesn't support it, if you just can't play any secrets or are not able to play anything until turn 4, then this is not a keep. But if you have support for this card, this is actually a consideration, in particular against Priest. So that's the deck. I wish for you that you have a lot of fun, just like me. I had a lot of fun, not just building this, but also playing it. It's kind of a hipster deck. Nobody plays it, but it's really strong. It's kind of a top tier 2 deck, and it's so much fun because you get to discover so much stuff and you can interact with board. You are able to fight back and take wins which you shouldn't actually be able to, and that's a lot of fun. I have a request for you. If you like what I do and you feel like I helped you out, please consider liking and subscribing. It is just one click and it helps me out a lot. It is actually not that much about helping me out because this channel is not meant to grow or make money. It would be really stupid to think that, and I am not that stupid. So in that regard, it is help for other people. You will help other people find help if you like and subscribe. But don't feel pressured to do so. Watching is support already enough. But if you want to take the extra step, I would really appreciate it. If you don't like what I do, go thumbs down. That is also feedback and help for me, so I can think about what I did wrong. And if you don't like what I do, just put it in the comments so I can do better next time. That would help me out, helping other people out. And then everybody wins. So thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Maybe.